I firmly believe that there will be a diamond mine in the Temiskaming area based on the results that companies have had over the years.
The Con property is right in the heart of one of the premier mining camps in Canada, and that's Cobalt. Al Con made a prospecting discovery. He was very successful in uncovering a very good showing of Kimberlite dike. And that was confirmed by the OGS, and amongst one of the resident geologists, Grabowski, was one of the visitors that applied his research, and his team confirmed that indeed it was a hypabyssal kimberlite.
My name is Gary Grabowski. I'm here to speak on behalf of RJK Explorations Limited on their Con Kimberlite target south of the town of Cobalt. I became involved with diamond exploration fairly early on in my career, having been district geologist in Kirkland Lake from 1980 to 2013 when I retired. Glenn Kasner asked me if I would be an advisor for RJK based on my experience and knowledge of the kimberlite and diamond exploration in the area. The general geology around Cobalt is you have early volcanic rocks that have been isoclinally folded and eroded to an almost vertical attitude. These in turn are overlain by sedimentary rocks of what we term Huronian supergroup Gilganda Formation rocks. And those are conglomerates and siltstones that are relatively flat-lying on top. These have been intruded by Nipissing Diamond-based sills. These are mafic magmas that sill out into the rocks. And on another story this is the locus of a lot of the silver deposits in Cobalt that produced over 500 million ounces of silver. Later, during Jurassic, about 150 million years ago, these rocks have now been intruded by these kimberlite bodies. So when you look at the stratigraphy, you have old volcanic rocks that are tilted almost vertically, flat-lying Gilganda sediments, Nipissing sills, and kimberlite bodies. When I looked at Al Con's dike, I noticed that the dike was intruding or cutting across the Gilganda Formation sediments. Therefore, they had to be younger than the Gilganda sediments. To backtrack a bit, going back to the Archean or the older volcanic stratigraphy, there are a similar rock type to kimberlite called lamprofere, and there are lamprofere dikes within the Archean volcanic rocks. And the lamprofere is older than the Gilganda sediments. So the lamprofere, which looks very similar to the hypabyssal kimberlite, does not cut through the Gilganda sediments. Therefore, when I saw Al's what turned out to be kimberlite dike, my immediate thought was this is a lamprofere dike. However, it cuts through the Gilganda sediments. Therefore, it isn't one of the Archean lamproferes. The first drill hole on the 2020 winter drill program was to drill test the Con kimberlite dike so that we have a reference to what other targets may or may not look like. The first drill hole that tested the Con kimberlite was a hypabyssal kimberlite. You notice the angular nature of the breccias that indicates that it was a violent eruption of the kimberlite magma. To this, it's fine-grained, it's very dark and magnetic just by putting a magnet close to it. So that's the first hole, hit all this hypabyssal kimberlite. The macrocrystic olivines altered, and that's what we're finding in the first dike. Hole number 2 was a vertical hole to test the geophysical target. The hole was collared in kimberlite underneath 12 meters of overburden and continued on for 100 meters in kimberlite. And then the second hole was a 45-degree angle hole from the same setup, so that the overburden was reached at about 13 meters in depth as well. So it's a relatively close to surface target, close enough that they could be stripped off and are with a backhoe or a shovel. And the importance of that is that if you want to get a bulk sample for further testing to get enough material, drilling costs are around $100 a meter. And 1 meter of core of, say, NQ, the bigger your core, the higher per meter it costs. So in order to get the volume of core, to get 500 tons of material is very expensive to drill. However, if you have a kimberlite body close enough to surface that you want to bulk sample, if you can scrape it off and dig it up with a backhoe, then it's more cost-effective exploration that way. I have visited in 2007 the Acadie and Diavik mines. I visited the Victor mine that De Beers have in Attawapiskat. And going back to the early 1980s, finding kimberlite boulders, I've always had an interest in kimberlites and diamond exploration. I firmly believe that there will be a diamond mine in the Temiskaming area based on the results that companies have had over the years.